Hi guys. The name is Mark, and I'm just going to do a quick little video here because there's a few things I'd like to discuss, as always, and a lot of people don't understand things, and they think that life has a blueprint for everything. Okay, so when you want to do something, they think that we have to we have to skin this cat this way. Okay, not that I'm suggesting you skin any cat, so please don't. But the moral to the story here is there's several ways to skin a cat. Okay, so that's why I'm doing this video. So I'm going to babble about a few things, and it goes like this. People are writing me and stuff. I don't have the time to address each and every single one of you, and I simply don't have the time. I don't have 1,000 lifetimes. If I did, that might be fine. So I'm putting this video out for numerous people to say skin one cat at once, okay? So it goes like this. People are writing me and they're going, well, if I leave the country of Canada or the United States of America, I'm going to be stateless. When you do this, you are going to be stateless. Your state of being is with God. It's not with man. If you want to run with man, they'll they'll throw you in prison. They'll pretend they're your best friends feeding you cocaine. This is the world of man. The world of God is grace, and nobody tells the bee where to fly. The bee just instinctively goes where it has to, okay? So nothing is perfect, there's no set way, but one big thing is things have to be notarized, okay? They absolutely positively have to be notarized. And you also have to send a notarized copy, say, to the Governor General at Canada Multiculturalism and Employment, okay? So effectively, what you do is you give your birth certificates back, you give all this stuff back, and that's that, okay? So you have to have it notarized. When you take your car to the registry and you register your vehicle to the government of Canada or to the US or whatever, you are giving up the ownership of the vehicle by registering it. And what you don't see behind the scenes is every time that the government of Canada or the US or any world government does something, they notarize things. And it thus makes it a law that you're in a contractual contract and you are now bound to it. Just like they would bind you in handcuffs, you're now bound to the contract, okay? So effectively, you would say something like they're going, well, I need to see your papers and what did you do? And well, none of their laws say that you can leave Canada and that. Listen, people, your kids never had to be citizens. If your kids don't want to be citizens, simply do not apply for a birth certificate, do not apply for a license, do not apply for an SS card, do not apply for a SIN card, okay, people? I can't emphasize this enough. And if they never do it, they don't need a state, okay? Their state of being is with God, and these people know this, okay? Now, something else that is huge is like, for example, when I sent my stuff back, because I went to the Court of Queen's bench and had it out with the government of Canada and stuff in the Court of Queen's bench, I gave them a notarized copy stating that I so and so am not a citizen of Canada, I am not a slave on your plantation, I am not a citizen on your ship, the citizenship, okay? And basically, I had it all notarized, and I also had it notarized that I was sending back my birth certificate, my social insurance number, anything, my driver's license, anything that I had to do with the government of Canada, I had it notarized that it was being sent back. So I sent back my birth certificate. To the Governor General somewhere in Canada, I forget. And then I sent back my social insurance number. I think these went back to the Governor General of Canada, which was basically multiculturalism and Canada employment. Okay, and look at the term multiculturalism. You are not supposed to belong to a cult. So all these people say, well, then I'm stateless and then I don't belong to a country. I'm going to say something, people. What is a country? It's a name on a piece of paper, like this name is here on this. That's all it is. It's a fiction of imagination, okay, people? So to say you live in Canada? How can you live in Canada? That's where all the fraud starts. You reside and live in your body, okay? This is where you live. I hate to burst your bubble. Now, so this is what I did. I simply signed everything. I said, listen, my birth certificate, I listed the number, the social insurance number, I listed the number. I have a video called Leaving Canada, right? And effectively, I left Canada. Now, again, Canada is a fiction of imagination, okay? So you look up magi and you get magi straight and all these words, necromancer, and it's imagination. And you are not supposed to be a part of this imaginatory world, okay? So effectively, that's all I did. I said, this social insurance number, you can write it down by hand, whatever. I don't care what color ink you want to use. Write it down, have it notarized. Now, this is something I'm going to talk about here. Once I found out that everything was notarized, like like there was a 170 something page document from Justice Rook in Edmonton that said, oh, these free men and all this stuff. So do you work for free? I'm not a free man, okay? My ass belongs to God, okay? Not man. And, it might not still prevent me from going missing one of these days. They might just pick me up and cat me right between the eyes and dump me in the river. But still, now I have a covenant with God. You are not supposed to have a covenant with man. This is simply the mark of the beast, okay? You won't be able to go shopping unless you've got your digital little chip inside you. You won't be able to get health care. You won't be able to do any of this. Now, I have none of this to begin with, and I may starve because of this, but this is life. I will not deal with man. I will deal with man on God's terms, but not man's terms. Man's terms equal slavery, jail, prison. You have police planting drugs on little colored kids. Let's talk legal. Slavery was legal, okay? And if you wanted to help the slaves escape, that was illegal. Dropping bombs on people are legal, but yet if you try not to drop bombs and try to prevent the guy from dropping bombs, say on Hiroshima or Nagasaki, Japan, that's illegal, okay? Killing natives in Canada was legal. Okay, so if you tried to help natives escape, that was illegal, okay, people? So basically, people, I'm doing this video to simply address the fact that you write down, you grab a piece of paper, but the big key thing here is you have to have a notary public. And I'm not talking a certified copy of the original. We're talking the original gets notarized, and then you therefore take notarized copies of that and you send that off to the government. Now, the government might even pretend like they never got these documents, whatever. And so nothing is assured in life, okay? So it's not like so many people have said to me, like, oh, well, will this prevent people from trying to arrest me or persecute me? No, it won't. How could it, right? These people, if evil is going to do what evil's going to do, like if they want to cap me and shoot me between the eyes and dump me in the river, they're gonna do it, okay? So having all these pieces of paper notarized stating that I'm not a citizen and I'm not a Canadian and is that going to prevent this? No. But when you run with God, this is the chance you take. It's like the parable of Jesus. The guy came along, said, listen, man, we have a better way of doing things, and everybody said he was a heretic, and at the end of the day, they murdered the poor bastard. Okay? So it's just that simple. I know it's a parable, so I don't want to get into whether or not Jesus really was here or not. I couldn't give a shit, okay? I couldn't give a shit, but the moral of the story is, in the Second Testament, is to follow the ways of may Christ be in you and also in you and lift up your hearts. It's a way of living. It's a code of ethics and moral. Thou shalt not kill. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife. Thou shalt not steal. Thou shalt... These are just inherent laws. They're no different than natural law. You don't poke the bee's nest, you don't get stung, okay? So simply put, people, I cannot reiterate this enough. You take a piece of paper. You say, hi, I so-and-so, address it to the Governor General of Canada, Multiculturalism and Employment. You send back your birth certificate. You send back your social insurance number. You say, hi, I so-and-so. You list the numbers. You smack that ID in. You have it all notarized. You have notarized copies. You never, and everything gets notarized. Your original gets notarized, okay? Then you thus make copies of the original notarized certificate saying, I so-and-so hereby, all contracts with the government of Canada are deceased, they're null and void, and any contractual relationship now here on and ever and heretofore is now null and void, okay, people? And you list the birth certificate number, you list the social insurance number, or any other identification that you have, and that's that, okay? So effectively what's going to happen is, this is what you do, and you send them off a notarized copy of the original document that's been notarized. There's no trade secrets here, there's no certain way to skin a cat. I didn't have anybody to follow me, so I had to devise my own way, which is, I so-and-so, I Mark Simser, I'm no longer a citizen on your citizenship. I am hereby remitting back your social insurance number, your birth certificate. It's all in this letter. It's going to be inclusive. It will be inclusive. It is included. And this goes back to Canada Multiculturalism and Employment Canada, okay? And look at the terms. Multicult, you are all is. Am, okay? So this is that, but then you're not going to have any health care. You're not going to have any health care coverage. Anything happens to you, that's on you, okay? This is the way life was supposed to meant to be, okay? So now, once you do this, you have a covenant with God. Now, will this stop you from going missing? Will this stop the cops from, how could it? How, nothing in life is assured, okay? And so it's like these people, they say, well, they sign all these contracts and you can't even guarantee the shit coming out of your ass, but you're signing a contract. You sign on a signature line, which is a deadline, and if you don't perform by that time, you'll lose your shirt. You see, this is why they call it a deadline. And when you go to the hospital, if you flatline, that's a deadline, okay? So this whole idea of once you give up your persona, your person, you are no longer a person. It's like all these people, they're running around and they're going, well, that's my person, and there's a bank account with all this stuff. Yes, because the government borrows money off these birth certificates, and that's why back in the old days they used to say banknotes of Canada. I don't know what the US ones look like, and Germany and all these other countries. I don't know, I'm just speaking from what I know. And everything has to be notarized. And so this whole nonsense that, like, yeah, there isn't an account with, say, the all capital name and all that stuff. But again, how can you be a name on a piece of paper? Like, effectively, I gave up the last name Simser. How can I be Simser? That's no different than a name on a piece of paper, okay? So to label me is to negate me. My God-given name is Mark, okay? Mark Randolph. It's not Mark Simser. Anytime you're using a last name, I hate to burst your bubble, but that's a slave trade name, like Smith, right? Locksmith, swordsmith, gunsmith, whatever. This is how people wound up with the names Smith, okay? It's like there's a hockey player in the NHL. His last name is Slavin, Slave-N, right? Could they spell it out anymore that this guy is or was and still is a slave? Okay, so you see where I'm going with this, people? So please, people, stop with this nonsense. And do know that it's this simple. Hi, I so-and-so am no longer a citizen of Canada. Here is, all contracts are null and void. But it must be notarized. If it's not notarized, the government cannot deal with it. They'll take your papers and they'll throw it in the garbage. There you go. We just threw your stuff in the garbage because it's not notarized. They need a physical notarized copy of this so that they can proceed and do the proper paperwork. Now, also, because the government of Canada borrows money, so we're back to this so-called, everybody thinks that this is their person and this money in this account is their money. It's not. When a child is born and the child turns 16 or 18 and applies for a birth certificate, which is not something that he should apply for because it was never his to begin with, or hers, okay? So if you never apply for a birth certificate and a SIN card and all this stuff, now your state of being is with God, okay? You reside in the state of, this becomes your state, is God, not man. Not man in their fictitious names and their fictitious titles and all this shit. You are supposed to worship God. You are not supposed to worship man, okay? You do not go to church because this is your temple, okay, people? Let's keep shit simple. I'm no rocket scientist in anything. I don't claim to be. I could care less. But the bottom line is, stop going up to the government and saying, well, now I've claimed this person, this name on this piece of paper, so now it's mine. It never was yours to begin with. It belongs to the government of Canada and all these other world governments. So for you to come along and say, well, this is now mine, it's like me, you leaving your Ferrari parked out in the road for 3 days. You go to another country like Cuba, and then you come back, and I've laid claim on your car, had it notarized, and now I have the right to steal your stuff. Rights are a way to steal things from people, right? Like they say, you have the right to pay taxes. Well, sure you do. But in God's world, God never asked you to pay taxes. God doesn't ask the birds and bees to pay taxes. You follow me, people? Shit is just this simple, okay? So stop with all this nonsense that this government account is yours. And yes, you can draw bonds off it. That's another whole talk show, but I'm not going to get into that because that'll just simply confuse matters. At the end of the day, the bottom line is I am no longer a citizen of Canada, and you are not going to have any of these benefits that they offer. One of the benefits they offer could be you going to prison. One of the benefits could be you getting medical care, right? I'll be honest with you, people, I don't have a pot to piss in, and God never asked me to have a pot to piss in. And some of the things that have happened in my life are between me and God, and they are now on me, okay? I will not allow myself to deal with fictitious governments who are full of shit. Fictitious governments who say, hey man, here's a gun. Now you have to go overseas and join a war and kill your neighbors, okay? So all this bullshit of Jesus and guns and religion and guns and all that crap, it's all bullshit. The parable, the parable of Jesus, the able to speak at par, he did not carry around guns. Why? Because he had trust in the universal creator, the universal waitress, okay? So things are this simple. So once again, I cannot emphasize this enough. I so-and-so, but it must be notarized. If it's not notarized, they're just going to take your papers and they're going to label you as a terrorist and they will come get your ass. Now, you very well may have it notarized. They'll pretend like they still never got your papers because how could a piece of paper guarantee your safety and ensure that you will be safe? It can't. It's preposterous. So stop living in this imaginary world. Now, here's something you guys can do, okay? And a prime example, I will tell it like this, and it goes like this. If you've never had a criminal record, you've never been fingerprinted in your life, or anything like that, you could literally take your ID, bury it in the ground, throw it in the river, and just go. And don't make waves, don't argue with the authorities, no nothing, just effectively drop off the face of the planet as best as you can, be as quiet as you can. And I'll give you a prime example. I know a few people, they have done this, okay? They've never had criminal records, they've never been fingerprinted, they've never had anything like that. And a few times, like, they were hitchhiking and they were picked up on the side of the road. The police picked them up. They failed. Well, they didn't fail. They just didn't identify themselves because why would they identify themselves and say, yeah, I'm a name on a piece of paper? How could you be a name on a piece of paper? It's like somebody saying, are you Mark Simser? I'm not Mark Simser. Whatever this is, and I am encapsulated in this is what I am to the universe. I can't be a name on a piece of paper, so why would I even say that I'm Mark Simser to begin with? The whole thing is fraud. It's fraud on you, and it's fraud on God. It's fraud on the Creator, okay? So effectively, getting back to the story, these people, they had basically taken their ID, threw it in the river, and that was that. They had been pulled over for hitchhiking. The police could not identify themselves. The police didn't have any CPICs or any way to identify them. And And that was that. And so, long story short, the police, they have 24 hours to hold you. They couldn't identify these people that I'm talking about. They couldn't identify them because they never had fingerprints. And yeah, these people had licenses in the past and stuff, but they still could not be identified. And so then the next day, they're taken in front of a Magi trader, okay, a trader. And so they took them in front of the judge, and the judge said, next case. And so they said, okay, this is the case, the docket number, and look at the terms: docket on a ship. Okay, it's a certificate of manifest. You don't want to be doing this. So they took these people in front of the judge, and the judge said, okay, what's their name? And they didn't give a name. And then the judge said to the officer, he said, who are these people? And the cops said, I don't know. And the judge says, so you mean to tell me that you're pulling in people that we have no business contracting with because you don't even know who they are, nor did they even have a contract with the government of Canada or the United States? You see where I'm going with this? This is why they hate illegal citizens once they come over the border, because these illegal people have never agreed to be citizens, say on the US side or the Canada side. So the government has no contract on them. And once they're on this side, that's that. This is why they want to stop them at these fictitious lines in the sand at the border so they can ship them back immediately, okay? Now, you may not be able to travel outside of your respective country and stuff, but again, these people were simply pulled over. The cops could not ID them. They never ID'd themselves in court because they threw their identification into the river, and that is that. And effectively, say if they ever did need health care again, they could crawl out of the woodwork and say, hi, I'm so-and-so, give me a health card and fix me up, please. You see how easy this is, people? Okay. So like me, I had a criminal record when I was a kid, when I was 17 and 18. So I knew that they had fingerprints of me down at, so they could identify me. So being that they could always, in their world, identify who I was, I grabbed a piece of paper and I wrote, I so-and-so am no longer Mark Simser. I go by my God-given name, which is Mark. Here's the social insurance number, and I list the number. Here's the birth certificate number, and all contracts are null and void, and I have it notarized. Then I have notarized copies, and then I send them back. But otherwise, back to my friends, and you guys can do this too. If you've never been fingerprinted, never had a criminal record, never had anything like that, I don't care if you had licenses or stuff, that's another talk show, but they can ID you, and so therefore they have no contractual relationship with you in the court of law. The court of law doesn't deal with God's laws. On contrary, the court of law deals with man's laws, which is the letter of law, okay? God's laws are do no harm to your neighbor. You have the gift of free will. Well, in man's world, you don't have the gift of free will. Okay, you better damn well do what you're told. And if not, they'll throw your ass in jail. Okay, people? So long story short, that's why I had everything notarized. As far as my friends, they were brilliant. These people that I know, they just outsmarted everybody and said, you know what? There. Threw your stuff in the river. Now what are you going to do? Then they got pulled over on numerous occasions. They couldn't get identified, and they would the cops would want to beat them up and all this stuff. And then the cops get mad because they don't know who you are and they can't ID you. Then they want to kick the shit out of you, like my last episode at the station. They wanted to kick the shit out of me, and 5 cops had to grab this one cop and prevent him from kicking the shit out of me because I told them flat out, I'm not going to listen to you. I don't care what you say. You want to throw my ass in prison? It's on you. It's now not on me because I'm not in agreement with your fake, fictitious laws. Okay, people? I cannot emphasize this enough. So in a nutshell, back to these people I know, they were pulled over on numerous occasions. The police could not identify them. The police would take them down to the police station, throw them in a cell. They would be there for 24 hours. They would come before a magistrate or a justice of the peace or 2 justices of the peace, and nobody could identify them. And the judges and the justices of the peace would say, why are you bringing this guy here? We have no contractual relationship with him whatsoever. Release him. And then, of course, the cops would get even more agitated because now they never identified you and they had to release you because now their boss, which is the judge, just told them, listen, why are you bringing in people that I have no contractual relationship with, right? If you have a license, now you have a contractual relationship with these people. If you have a social insurance number, you have a contractual relationship with these people. And these judges, which are no longer judges anymore, they're administrators, and they will administrate on their account. Okay, they will also administrate on the account of you being part of their account. Okay, and in their world, it's money, 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 money. In God's world, God never asked you to pay for a goddamn thing. Okay, people, so I can't emphasize this enough. So, long story short, I had a criminal record when I was 17 and 18. I haven't been in trouble since. I think I had a pot charge when I was like 35 or something stupid like this, but whatever. They can they can all go fuck themselves lovingly, of course, you know. And but like that was that, you know. So because I had that record, that's why I gave up all this stuff, and I had it notarized and authenticated through the Attorney General's office. Now, over the course of the years, they caught on that people are having things notarized. They're doing what they're supposed to. They're saying, listen, I have no contractual relationship with you. Here's my birth certificate. Here's my social insurance number. You send the SIN to where you got it from, and you send the birth certificate to the Governor General Canada, Multiculturalism and Employment Canada. Okay, people? So it's that simple. And because I had that record, that's why I had everything authenticated and notarized. But nowadays, they've warned notary publics and stuff not to not to notarize these documents. And if you take these documents to the Attorney General, they'll say, oh, well, you have to submit it and it'll take 2-3 weeks or a month to get it back. And they won't give it back to you anymore, because the minute they lose slaves, they no longer have the borrowing power from the government on your head to borrow money to run their fraud. Okay, everything that man deals with nowadays, by paying for gas, paying for water, this is all fraud. It's fraud on you for agreeing, and it's not fraud if you agree to pay for this. If you don't agree to pay for this and you want to go live on a mountaintop, the universe has given you everything for free. Again, try taxing the birds and the bees, man. They don't care. They will not comprehend. They're too smart for that. Mankind, on the other hand, we're about as smart as a sack of nails. Oh, where do I sign? You take the G out of sign and you're at sin. Okay? It's this simple, people. God did not ask you to deal in a world of sin. God did not ask you to have the mark of the beast by carrying around identification numbers and dealing with sin cards. Okay? Even my buddy's kid, this was years ago, he applied for a social insurance number, and it said, thank you for applying for your first, and it said social insurance number on the outside, and it had sin in brackets. Literally. So thank you for lying. Now you're lying to get into the world of sin. It's no different than Star Wars, okay? You don't have to join the dark side, and just because they might run around killing everybody and everything you own and stuff like that, you still are not supposed to join the dark side and make a contract with man so that they don't kill the rest of your family. This is in God's hands. And when you have this kind of trust that everything is in God's hands, thine will be done, not my will. My ass belongs to the Creator, not man. So the Creator's will, the universal waitress's will be done, not mine. I just have grace to do this. I don't deal in the world of rights. Rights are for slaves, you know, and then they'll tell you, well, now, you're an order follower, right? You're not supposed to be owing to anybody. And it's order followers, you know, they'll try to say, oh, well, these people are criminals and stuff like that. Who's the real criminal? The criminal is the guy who drops bombs on a country. He is an order follower. So the little guy stealing a loaf of bread out there because society has forced him into poverty and now he feels he has to steal a loaf of bread, is that guy the real criminal? No. You want to talk criminals? Look on the news and look at all your parliamentarian leaders, okay? These guys are crooks. Trump is a crook, Trudeau is a crook, okay? And if there was such an honest, say, government system, why are these people not arrested? They're not arrested because they're all in on the fraud, okay, people? So I can't emphasize that enough. Normally, I didn't want to do videos of this stuff again. I'm tired of talking about this stuff because even when I do talk about it, people still don't listen, right? Even when you go to school, you go to school for a lesson. A lesson, right? So how do you expect to learn more when you're going to school for a lesson, and they will call that programming, because they're not teaching you more, they're giving you a lesson. And if you take the L out of learning, they are now earning at these institutes. You see where I'm going with this, people? There's a reason why everything is there. And again, all you have to do is you look up spell in a dictionary and it says a curse. But now you go to school and they call it spelling, and now it's no longer a curse, but yet they would call it cursive writing. You would learn your sentence structure, and after you were done with your sentence structure, if you got out of line, they might give you a death sentence, right? You see where I'm going with this, people? So it's all bullshit. It's all deceit. It's all lies. Okay, so you don't need cursive writing. You don't need sentence structure. You don't need this. To say you're even a name on a piece of paper is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. So you're Mark Simser? No, I'm not Mark Simser. Don't even ask me who I am. I couldn't tell you who I am, but I could tell you what I'm not, and I am not a name on a piece of paper. I reside and live in my body, okay, people? So I know I'm going on with this and I'm babbling, and so many people want to talk to me and stuff, but in a nutshell, I don't have 1,000 lifetimes to address one thing at a time. And if you're looking at my videos and you don't quite understand something, I suggest that if this is what you really want to do, like I've had so many people write me and, well, I don't want to be a citizen anymore. And I'll say, okay, are you ready to die and go missing? Oh, well, no, I thought your paperwork would ensure that I would not get killed in the process and I wouldn't go missing. How could a piece of paper, again, ensure that you won't go missing? All I simply did was I said, listen, I had it notarized and I sent the government, the Court of Queen's Bench, a certified copy of my notarized originals that I was no longer a citizen. Their ID had went back to the respective people in the government, and that's that. These people could have taken that paperwork and just went and threw it in the garbage for all I know, and still pretended like I was a citizen at the end of the day, and still arrested me and stuff. But my faith lies with the Creator and the universal waitress, okay, people? Not with man. If my faith lied with man, I'm going to hell in a handbasket real fast. My faith and all that stuff is now in the Creator's hand. Now, will that prevent somebody from killing me? Absolutely not. But now my life is in God's hand. I'm not running around arresting innocent people. I'm not running around promoting the fact that I'm allowing Donald Trump to steal and stuff. These world governments aren't using my money to fund wars and go kill my neighbors in Palestine, or go kill my neighbors in Ukraine, or go kill my neighbors anywhere. You follow me, people? Okay? You are not using my labor, my precious time, which is not money, it's my time, right? You use your time to make money, okay? So I know I'm babbling about several things, but in a simple nutshell, I had everything notarized. Once again, I so-and-so am no longer so-and-so. I am not a name on a piece of paper. Write whatever you want. Here's your birth certificate back with 77793, stuff like that. Here's your birth certificate back. Here's your here's your driver's license. You have it all notarized that this stuff is all being sent back. You keep your original copies. You bury them. You stash them. You don't stash them where you live. You stash them somewhere safe. And this way here, the authorities can never show up and steal your documents too. Okay? You savvy? You always have to be one step ahead of these monkeys. But at the end of the day, when it starts becoming that you're ahead of these monkeys, then you're ahead of them, and now your life is in God's hands. And if you really want to screw with somebody who is not a citizen,